Hi and welcome to Film Forums. I'm Richard Williams, the creator of this platform, a place dedicated to the filmmaking community. We interview members of the film industry to find out what it really takes to make a movie, bring a script to screen, or secure that acting role. If that sounds good to you, please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on your favourite podcasting platform so you can be the first to know when an episode drops. We'd really appreciate it if you'd like and share this if you get value from this episode. Thank you.
Everyone thinks I'm Madonna. It's getting kind of strange. Every time I get my hair bleached, they keep calling out my name.
That's them. The Windsor Boys. A cappella royalty.
Those guys look like assholes.
I worship those assholes.
Gross. Yo, Dom, we got a 371.
Dispatching 3.
Aggressive vibe it.
2. I got you. Go.
It's really sweet how you guys look out for each other.
You know, that's what roomies do.
How you doing? You all right?
Doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good.
This was one of the interviews I was excited to be a part of. And my buddy Kazy, I think he had an interview with you as well. And he enjoyed it
That's
a lot.
right.
So
He was brilliant. So if it's half as good as that, then it'll be awesome. Definitely.
Kazy's a good dude. That's my brother.
Can you introduce yourself and give an overview of your journey into the filmmaking industry to date?
So my name is Isaiah Frizzelle, and in terms of a journey, where do I start? I would say my acting journey started kind of in certain ways on accident. And I mean that by, growing up, it was, the idea of acting and things like that was cool, but it was never like, oh yeah, this is what I want to be when I grow up. Throughout elementary school, my buddies and I, we used to just shoot like short little films, whatever the case would be, something simple. And I didn't think anything of it. It was just something that we enjoyed doing. And in high school, for a few years, a friend of mine, she kept trying to get me to audition for like the theater production. And I was like, no. I was like, just no. And by my senior year, I auditioned for the theater production, and that in itself like snowballed into what my career is now. So I majored in psychology and film, and I was just kind of like in that world and create my own stuff, but also making a point to be a part of other people's things. And I was like, this is my space. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy this. So while I was in college, I was also going to New York, going back and forth to audition and do all those things. And once I graduated school, it was like, all right, well, now we hit the ground running and we just go from there.
I've already got the impression of you from researching you and just listening to you for whatever it's been 2 minutes, that you're very focused. Is that fair, that you're very focused and, I don't know, measured? That's the impression I get of you. Is that fair?
I appreciate that. I try to be very intentional with everything that I do, for sure. Like there's usually intention and thought that goes behind just how I move throughout the world. I don't like to, pardon my French, I don't like to half-ass things, so it's like whenever I do something, I try to do it to the best of my ability. And yes, be very focused and very determined and very diligent.
Can you tell us what Boyfriends is about, your role in it, and whether the full series is being commissioned or not?
Boyfriends is about the main character, Nick, who's in college, and he and his friends are just kind of experiencing life. It's a heavy emphasis on, the lifestyle of a gay character and just his journey and his his challenges, however normal or extravagant they are, and him having the support of his friends. So my character Dom is one of his friends in college, like one of his close buddies, confidants, and we're just experiencing life together, man. It's just like the ups and downs, the craziness that is. And the great thing about Boyfriends is it kicks it up a notch. It's more than just your humdrum college experience. There's a lot of surprises involved, a lot of you know, a lot of a lot of moments I'm just like, oh wow, that's crazy, but could it possibly happen? Sure, absolutely. The whole series itself, I guess they're still in workings. The pilot that we shot and that everyone can see has been doing like amazingly well.
Staggeringly well. I mean, I looked. Obviously, I watched it before I've spoken to you, and at the moment, at the time of this, we're recording this. It's like 166,000 views for a pilot, which is incredible. You must be stoked with that.
It's crazy. I mean, it's cool to see those numbers, and yeah, I think it's just cool in essence to be a part of something like that. But like the cast and crew, it's all amazing, very talented, and you know, to see something come to fruition like that, it's like, you know, there is possibility for other things to come afterwards. We'll just see. You know, I think the thing about the film life is that it's always something juggling. You know, things are always juggling, and you never really know what's going to come of it. But when you do anything and it's like received well, it's cool. It's like, all right, cool, we did something. It's a reminder. It's like, this is what you do it for, and you know, you do it to have fun. And again, that was my biggest takeaway. It's like there was a lot of talent on that set, and I made some friends that I still have now from that project. College can be weird at first, and it's like how you navigate and all those things is very it's relatable, but also can be very subjective in certain aspects too, you know. So yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I found myself sort of guiltily laughing very early on when one of the characters claims that another may have a serious illness, and a clever, albeit disgusting, ending to the pilot episode.
Yeah.
Was the sharp, edgy humor part of the reason you came on board with the project? How did you get involved?
I got involved actually from my buddy Joe. He had reached out to me randomly, and Joe and I, we hadn't talked in a while. He was like, "Hey, would you be interested in this pilot?" I was like, "What's it about?" You know, and he started reading off what it was about and everything like that. I was like, I auditioned for this a while ago, and I was like, I never heard anything back. He was like, really? I was like, yeah. So he called me back. He was like, well, are you able to get to New York and like do a table read right now? I was like, I could be there in an hour. And I went, read with some of the other guys, and I was like, yeah. So like reading the actual, I remember when I first auditioned for it, and I got the sides. I like it because it seemed to be pretty fast paced, but also very smart. Noam, who's the creator and writer of this, he has a very intelligent way of like getting things across, and very funny. So that caught my attention. I was like, this would be something cool to be in, you know, be in the mix of, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of working my way through the cast of Standing 8, which was a 2016 short film. Having spoken to Kazy Tauginas, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Freddy Giorlando. What was it like working with them on that short movie depicting a boxer who was diagnosed with lupus?
Kazy and Freddy are family. Those are two of my closest friends. And you know, in no stretch of the imagination, they're family for me. So like, those are my brothers. I talk to Kazy regularly. I talk to Freddy regularly. Whenever Kazy's out here in LA, we all get together and we just hang out. And it's very much what you would kind of want in life. You know, people that you are going through the same journey with, but also just good, solid people. Kazy has an amazing heart, and you know, the whole story behind Standing 8, how it pertains to his life in certain ways, how it reflects on his life is I think is very commendable, you know. And when we worked on Standing 8, that was a good time. You know, I remember that day specifically, and the couple of days that we were on set for it. That was a really, really cool time. It was a real good time. Great people to work with. Again, it was a solid cast and crew, and everybody was there to work and just make this something that people want to see. And Kazy works hard, man. Kazy is a hard worker. He's a brilliant mind too. So coming into this, I was like, I'm down. You know, you can leave me to
I'm
war.
not surprised that you two are friends, just based on my conversation with him recently, a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, and how you are coming across. I can kind of tell you're on the same, maybe on the same wavelength, same kind of focus, to drive to get to where you want to be. Really, I think so.
Yeah, Kazy's a good dude, and he, you know, he has my back and my best interest, and I have his the same. And same with Freddy. It's like, you know, it's just a group of guys who are doing what they got to do to make things happen, but also looking out for their people, you know, and just being decent. You know, I think that's the biggest takeaway. Is like, it's one thing to have a goal and to have a dream and to have a drive, but it's another thing to kind of like be yourself and also treat others well throughout the entire process. I think that's the biggest task. You know, I think that's the most important when it's all said and done, because everything else is going to happen, you know, but it's like, who are you at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day? You keep that, you know what I'm saying? So,
Nicely put. Yeah, no, I like that. That's cool.
yeah.
What do you wish you'd known when you first embarked on your filmmaking career?
That's a good question. What do I wish I'd known? Taking stock in that, like understanding that everything you do is worth something, instead of just kind of like running yourself into the ground sometimes. Like really taking your time, you know, asking more questions, and you know, seeking community. Because I think in this industry sometimes we, as an actor, it can be a very solo journey in theory, but it's like, it's really not. Like, as actors, filmmakers, creators, whatever the case may be, it's like, in order to make something happen, you need other people involved to some capacity. So it's like, it's cool to ask questions, it's cool to ask for help, it's cool to like form a network and be willing to just do that, you know, do that, instead of thinking that, all right, I have to, you know, put my nose to the ground and forget everything else. And it's like, instead, just ask for help to take the load off, you know.
We'll do with that advice, to be honest, not just in acting, to be fair.
It's very important to understand that and realize that as you go through life, because it's like, you know, we're a community first, you know, and a community really goes a long way, because there may be something that you do, but someone else does this, and they could kind of take the load off of what you're doing, and you could take the load off of what they're doing. And you guys just build something together. The industry it's a mystique in certain ways. Like, there's not one linear way to get from point A to point B, and it doesn't mean that what you're doing is not the right way just because you haven't had a certain amount of success at this age or at this timeline in comparison to someone else.
Morgan Freeman. I mean, you know, yeah, absolutely. What's the best advice you've been given as a filmmaker?
I think just to create. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, just create. And it's like, don't worry so much about each thing being perfect or like Oscar worthy or something like that. Instead, just getting yourself to do, like, just create and just keep creating. And be certain of what it is that you're doing. Like, be sure this is something that you're willing to do and take on, because it's a thankless job in certain aspects. Like, you'll spend a lot of time working versus reaping the rewards for a long time, you know.
Interesting. I that question, pretty much all of you guys say the same thing. Just get on with it. Create, don't doubt yourself too much. Believe, have convictions, go for it. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, because I think it's you know, one of the things we're told as actors, at least, or just in life maybe, it's like, people can pick up on desperation, people can pick up on uncertainty. You know, it's important, I think, to have conviction about yourself and like be self-assured in certain aspects, because when you walk into a room, you know, people pick up on what you're given. And it's not always easy when you don't have the reaffirmations or the validation that comes with what you're working on or what you put out, but it still helps to have a certain level of like, this is who I am, this is what I do, that's it.
What do you struggle with the most as a writer and also as an actor?
Oh, what do I struggle with the most? It could be that sometimes, actually. It's imposter syndrome. Very much the thing of like being like, all right, well, this probably isn't good or this is crap. And it's like you think yourself out of something before you even do it. And, you know, in terms of writing, you get this monkey brain, you know, it's really like the chaos that goes goes on in your head. And how you just walk through every situation with that in the back of your head. So for me, big time imposter syndrome is big for me. And just learning to take a break sometimes too. You know, that's a big thing for me. It's like not knowing when to just like not think and do. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. It's hard for me.
I could definitely create an article about imposter syndrome. Not the first filmmaker to say that either, so that's interesting. Thank you. Can you tell us about your podcast? It seems to be an interesting blend of sort of mental health and horror.
Yeah. So the Bird Brain podcast is my baby. It's a hybrid. So on Mondays, I have episodes that focus on just like honestly seeing yourself better, treating yourself a little bit better, having a very healthy relationship with yourself, and how you can pinpoint certain things in your life that you may have overlooked that are very simple, like very much in your daily routine, that really reflect what kind of relationship you have with yourself and how that filters out into your relationships with people in the world. So, and I just do my best to like have a conversation, like not talk over anyone's head, but just have a simple conversation about, hey, this is what my week was. Maybe you can relate, and let's talk about it. And it's all about like staying elevated. I say have a bird's eye view on life because birds, they fly a little higher. And it's like, if you're up here and your situation's down here, it allows you to kind of stay elevated.
I love that.
Know?
I think that's great. Yeah. I thought it was very accessible. That was my impression of it, very accessible.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to be, because for me, it's like, look, you know, I know what I've experienced personally, and I know I'm not unique. So if there's anything that I could talk about how I got through this situation, I'm willing to share it, and maybe someone can relate. Maybe it helps someone along the way. And then I just switch gears, and Fridays I write a lot of horror stories. So I write these short stories and I just narrate them. And it's for the night owl portion. I call that the night owl because I really don't. My sleep has always been a little off, and I think that's just a creative curse.
Me too.
Where
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have an actual sleep schedule. You just fall asleep whenever you're tired. So yeah, the night owl. It's a bunch of short stories. I just write. I just think about a situation or a scenario. I write it and I narrate it, or I have some other actors narrate. And yeah, it's cool. I like having a balance because those are two of my favorite things, like horror and just working to be a better person. So it's like, how can I bridge them together?
That's cool. Obviously, you're going to be doing that ongoing, but I was just going to ask you finally, what are you working on next, other than obviously your ongoing podcast?
Working on right now, I just finished writing the book. It's in the revision process, and going to start working on the illustrations for it very soon. But yeah, it's called The Coloring Book, and that's all about, you know, life not being as black and white as we think, and, you know, understanding that your experiences throughout life really color who you are as a person. And again, very similar to the podcast, but like very more in depth and just something that people can read and also color. But yeah, that's a big one that I'm excited about because I've been, you know, throughout quarantine, I had a minute to like really just hunker down and write and use my experiences to my advantage. And there is a film that I was in called Blind Fire, and that's going to be a very opposite story, plot, feeling of Boyfriends. That's a little bit more serious, more visceral, but it's a project that I was excited to be a part of, and very much something I think worth watching that people will take away from it big time.